Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RTAG Nation Live. I am your host, Josh Lee, the VP. We are so excited. We've got a great show for you. As you can see, we're continuing to build out the studio here. How dare you, Anthony Bailey? I'll call you out right here with the Star Trek comments. But we are so excited to have you today. We are going to talk some industry news, seeing what's going on. We're sitting down with James O'Neill from Raven Careers to give us just a lot of stuff that we're going to use to prep for the convention coming up. And we have one huge announcement coming up right after this. Welcome to RTAG Nation Live. All right, welcome to everybody that is on currently right now. We just want to say thank you for joining us tonight. Always got to put a plug in to make sure that if you haven't subscribed on the YouTube channel, take a look at that. We've got lots of content coming up once we get some of this stuff lined up. Sorry for some of the buffering. We are still working out some of the wonderful rural internet, but this is thanks to Starlink, is actually hooking up right now. But we are working to make that better. So I'm going to go without further ado. I'm just going to tell you what the huge excitement, a huge announcement is. And some of you all, let's see if anybody's got it here. No, nobody's got it. Actually, one person did totally guess it. And let's see, Adam Bush, you totally guessed it, man. Listen, we have worked really hard, PJ and myself, and we were able to meet with the Fort Worth Convention Center, and we were able to free up more 80s tickets. We are going to be releasing, next week, we are going to be releasing 200 more 80s tickets. So we are super excited to be able to bring that. Chris, I just did, man. 200 tickets more for the 80s party. So if you didn't get that, we're going to make sure that we announce that. We're going to bring that up on all the social media. We'll have those links access to the tickets from the website. So make sure that you're able to go on the website. You're able to get up there and get those. This is it. This is literally, we asked for as much space as they could give us and as much food and all that stuff that they could. We have the live 80s band that is going to be coming. They're awesome. In fact, we'll have some links to them here coming soon in our flyers. So we couldn't be more excited. We had so much rush. We had a huge rush on those tickets, and so we wanted to make sure that we could get some more. So we did. We were going to get 200 more tickets. Those are going to go awesome. I love Chris, the awesome rad buddy. We are super excited to have that. Costumes, bring them. We're going to need to see those 80s costumes out. We are super excited for what it's going to bring. But with the scholarships, remember that if you haven't done a scholarship application yet, those are live on the website. And as a matter of fact, we just put 2 more. And Jim, if you're on, correct me if I'm incorrect, but I believe we just put 2 more, and those are focused for an ANP or ATP. I can't remember. Jim, help me out, or Eric, help me out. But those are on the website. 2 more scholarships that are available for you. So make sure you're filling those out. If you know people that are looking to help pay for their transition, we want to help do that. That's the whole reason we designed this whole program, and we want to be able to give out as much money as we absolutely can to get out to get you in your transition. So we have more scholarships coming up, and those are going to close out probably the middle of September, so we can gear them all up, and we're going to be giving those out at the 80s party, obviously right before the band plays. Our schedule is going to be coming out soon, probably within the next month, schedule for all of our entertainment that's going to go on through the weekend. Obviously, the party start and end for the 80s party, and open doors and closed doors. If you can make it on Saturday, you want to be there both days, but if you can make it Saturday on the first opening in the early portions, we would love to have you. It's going to be an incredible ribbon cutting ceremony, and a presentation of the colors like we did in San Diego is going to be a lot of fun. So we're very excited for that. We have more swag. I cannot wait for you to see some of our new shirts and some of our new hoodies. We got hoodies coming and hats as well. Tim has been working his buns off to get that stuff prepped for you. So we're going to have more of that to show you here soon. Lots of great shows coming up. Essentially, from here on out, you will see an RTAG Nation Live coming every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, just plan Thursday, right around 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern, you will have some exciting information coming forward. We've got some ones coming up with some AMEs. We've got some, which is a medical folks that can help you get your medicals taken care of if you have questions about them, or maybe things that you brought from the military that you need to make sure that you can pass on the civilian side. It's going to be really great informational. Like today, we have an awesome sit down with James from Raven Career Development, who has been an amazing company for us. They've done, I mean, those of you who've worked with them know, hands down, they've been absolutely wonderful and given of all their time free to us to really develop things. And we've got some more exciting news coming with them as well. And so stay tuned for that. We've got people like American Airlines coming in and Frontier and a bunch of the other airlines that we're going to sit down and talk to about what they're looking for, how to get hired, directly from the mouths of those people who you'll be sitting across the table from. So incredible news. Make sure you get there right now. As of right now, we are closing in on 3,400 registrations, and we have plenty of room to have you. We are super excited. I think we're closed out on volunteers, and PJ wants me to note as well that we are almost sold out on all of our hotel blocks. It is, the hotels have gone really quickly. So if you haven't, you better make sure you get in there and you grab a hotel from one of our blocks, because they are going to be closed out, and it's going to be kind of on you to set that up. Eric says that, I agreed, Eric, we have more sponsors to announce soon. Lots of people are trying to get signed up because they're hearing more and more about the community, more and more about how to bring veterans on, and they are just super excited to be a part of what we've got going on. I'll show you a quick setup of what we have here right now. Thanks to American Airlines, we always give them a huge shout out for being our diamond sponsor this year. You're going to see, again, their name marqueed on one of our scholarships this year for $20,000. Thank you, American Airlines, and Corey and Brad and your team there. We couldn't be more excited to be partnered with you. And then you can see, obviously, this is just a small list. This isn't even the most current updated list. We've got people from every aspect of where you want to fly, whether it's helicopters, fixed wing, airlines, cargo. We've got them coming. UPS, FedEx, you want them? We've got them there. But I want to get James on here without further delay so we can open up to questions. We can talk about what's going on in the industry a little bit, and then really get you prepped for the interview. Or for getting ready to kind of find that airline and land those jobs that you want. So without further ado, I'm going to bring James on. Hey, what's going on, James?
Hello, everybody.
I love it, man. James from Raven Career Development. First of all, thank you for all of the free stuff that you've given to our community over the last few years. And I know one of the big hits from last year was was it networking for introverts? And I know that was a huge, people loved that. I liked it personally. And as you can tell, I'm a huge introvert, but I liked it personally. And I think it was a big resonator with a lot of our folks who really don't know how to kind of get that networking piece outside of the military. So thanks for that. And thanks for all you and Eileen do for our community as well.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I got shot down by Eileen last year for naming it networking for socially awkward people. So we'll keep networking for introverts moving forward. But yeah, no, we appreciate it, man. It's a lot of fun.
Great. Well, there's a lot to talk about, so I think we'll just jump right in. We always enjoy having you on, and I think we're just going to jump right in. So industry news, I wanted to get your take, obviously for me a little personally, the Spirit and Frontier, the relationship went from it's complicated to they're breaking up. What are the thoughts on that you have seen? And then actually what the next day we're seeing JetBlue and Spirit. What does that look like industry wide? How does that shape kind of how the industry's looking a little bit?
Yeah, so if you watch I think we were talking about this earlier, I think it's the CNBC or MSNBC. I don't know if you could have had a more awkward interview between Ted Christie going, "We're really excited, back to you," and completely ignoring all the questions they asked about, "What about all the stuff you said about JetBlue?"
That's funny.
So, look, it's obviously really early to tell. It's clearly not the direction that the Spirit board wanted to go down. But that's, as Ted said, it's now what do you say? It's where we've landed today, I think is the words that he said. I mean, look, the bottom line up front is there's going to be discomfort as that merger progresses.
Right.
We know what that's going to look long term, if it's going to be positive or negative for the folks at Spirit and JetBlue. But it's not like Spirit and Frontier, where you kind of already got everybody on the same page. Everybody's sailing in the same direction. They understand the business model. The business model is looking to stay the same and grow. This is two very different companies coming together. And so we will be watching very closely and putting a lot of information in our weekly email updates as this progresses.
Nice. If you haven't signed up for those, make sure you can go. Where can they go sign up for that?
Yep. So if you go to ravencareers.com, on the top banner, it'll say Get Industry Alerts. And what'll happen is every Tuesday you'll get an email from us with whatever the top news stories are in the industry. So this past Tuesday, we had what was it? We had some notes on the investor call for United. Obviously, we have the RTAG convention sign-up stuff in there. Some different information about Spirit and Frontier. So it's relevant news on a weekly basis of stuff that's affecting you as a pilot.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I think it's sometimes it's a little bit, you get that insular view a little bit from being part of the whole deal. I think really it'll be, I honestly think it'll be fine across the board. Frontier has got a really strong position, which is great as far as, the orders they have, and I think they've really done a good job positioning themselves one way or the other. I think Spirit's not as strong as well, and I think JetBlue is as strong. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes up the market a little bit, especially when everybody's fighting for pilots. I mean, that's just something that we know. We're going to talk about that here in a second, but having this looming could be good, could be bad. But I think everybody's fighting for pilots, and they're all kind of fighting for that same pool, which is interesting, which is a great segue into what's the hiring market looking like right now? As far as, let's talk about pilots specifically. What's that looking like? Let's say over the last, difference between the last 10 years, obviously COVID excluded.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the most hiring of pilots in the history of since it's ever been recorded.
Yeah.
It's insane, and it's funny because people come to us all the time and they're like, "Hey, what are you seeing as the difference?" And the biggest thing that I would say is impacting pilots right now is confusion. How many people were mentally prepared to get 2 or 3 conditional job offers from a legacy airline, right? Most of the
Right.
people that we are working with are getting multiple conditional job offers, right? So you think, man, let's just take a look at RTAG. I mean, 2 years ago, if somebody from RTAG called, they were calling about a regional airline.
Right.
Now, they're not calling about regionals, right?
That's
They're
right.
talking about like, hey, should I be thinking about American or Delta? I mean, it's just completely different. And when you have that much change that quick, there's a lot of strategy conversations that go into this. Because a lot of times it's pretty nuanced as to what's going to work best for your family. We had a guy I was actually funny. I was just talking to him earlier today. He got hired by Delta and United.
Wow.
And the conversation was, I'm a better cultural fit at United, but Delta is going to be a better commute for my family, and I'm going to have more time at home.
Wow.
What do I
Yeah.
do? And you're like, yeah. So then we end up sitting down and having these long strategy conversations because there isn't a dead clear right answer.
Right.
And you have multiple really good opportunities on the table. I mean, geez, if you're at an American regional, right? Did you see those memes online when PSA and Envoy passed it,
Yeah.
of regional guys telling mainline guys, get your stuff in?
Yeah.
I mean,
Those are pretty good.
your pay went from effectively, let's call it 40 grand a year base with maybe 20 in bonuses to 90 base.
Wow.
I mean, I know it's temporary, but think about it, right? You're 22 years old and somebody's just dumped there's a lot of BMWs getting sold right now that probably shouldn't be bought.
Yeah.
If they're anything like I was. So when you have that much change that quick, right? It creates fear of missing out, right? So folks are confused over, am I making the right decision? Am I at the right company? Am I doing the right thing? Because they're watching their friends make all these moves and they're going, am I missing something here? Am I making the right decision? And then the other thing you run into is that's why you're seeing with the contract negotiations right now, everything gets wonky, right? United came out and said, hey, we've got this great tentative agreement. And American, like what, 48 hours later
Yep.
said we're going to do a 17% increase. And then all of a sudden
Just
the United pilots
kidding.
weren't very happy anymore,
That's
right?
right.
So there's all this stuff in flux. Now put yourself in the position, right, of a pilot who's either coming out of the military, right, or has been in a regional for a year, and they're getting hit with all these decisions and all these variables. They don't know how to make sense of that.
Right.
And
Yeah, no, I
you don't
agree.
want to make the wrong route. You don't want to make the wrong move. It's only a couple $1 million you might lose if you screw it up, right? I mean, it's pretty big consequences.
Right, absolutely. That is, let me see, that is one of the things that we are looking at too is, that's the FOMO, I think, is a perfect opportunity or perfect thing to say. People do feel like it's getting like, oh man, if I make this decision now, am I going to miss out on X money later or X this later? And so what's probably the best way that you guys give, advice on how to keep that from, I guess, overtaking somebody's decision making?
Sure. So the first is when we do the strategy sessions, and this is something that RTAG folks are used to that civilian pilots aren't, right? Take a look at the RTAG convention. How many RTAGers bring their spouse with them,
Oh, a
right, to
lot.
go
Yeah,
meet
a
the
lot. Mhm.
okay. Civilians don't do that, or at least they didn't do that, right? So a lot of it is getting everyone around the concept of this is going to be a family decision. It's not going to be a like, hey, James, what are you going to go do with your career? Josh, what are you going to go do with your career? You're going to sit down with your spouse, and even if you have older children, right, that or children that it may impact. So that's number one. That takes a lot of the pressure off. I mean, if you think about it as the individual pilot, you're trying to make a decision, you're trying to pull all these variables in, and you're trying to make sure you don't miss anything. Well, if you have your spouse in that conversation, much lower probability you're going to leave out something very important. So that's number one. Number two, we have to really pin down what matters to you.
Right.
I'll give you a very easy example for myself. I fly King Air. People ask me all the time, why do you fly King Air? Right? I mean, I could go fly
Sure.
Gulfstreams. I can go fly for the airlines. Why are you flying the King Air? Okay. Because I'm clear with myself that having weekends off, having holidays off, flying less than 10 days a month, and 5 of those 10 days I fly are overnights at home is really important to me. Like, really important to me.
Right.
I didn't come to that overnight. I mean, for those of you that have met Eileen, you'll see her at the convention. Her hair will be dyed. It'll be like 17 different colors. She's about 5'2". But I mean, I remember having conversations with her where I said, "Hey, look, I don't think I want to be an airline pilot." And she's like, "Okay, I support you." I said, "No. But before you say that, like, it's going to be this much money."
Right.
She's like, "Yeah, I'm cool with that." Right. So for me, having a spouse who's supportive of, hey, you don't have to go do that is huge. So that's the
Right.
first thing we do is we need to pin down what's important to you. Is it the money? Is it the time off? Is it the type of flying? Right? Is it the scheduling? Is it the quality of life? What what is important to you? And then when folks say, "Hey, this is what's important to me," I have very specific questions that I ask to challenge that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And then from there, when we narrow it down, you'd be surprised how quick I can pull things off the table and explain to you in clear detail with examples why you don't want to do A, B, and C, right? Because it's easier to pull things off the table first that you don't want to do
Right.
and end up with a very small list of things you're willing to do, because then we can really focus in and go, okay, this is option number 1, this is option number 2, this is option number 3.
That's awesome.
So it's
And
a very methodical process.
one for I think a lot of people don't know either. You guys don't just do resume prep or review or interview prep. You guys do strategy as well. Like you look at
Oh, yeah.
what is the holistic picture of what I want to do, where I want to be in all of those. And so, if you're watching now and you're looking at, I have 3 or 4 offers and I don't know which one to choose. Here's my different thing. Talk to Raven Career, because they're going to give you kind of their information about his time doing all of these different things for the industry for as long as he's done it. But also the people that work with you have done it in all various forms of the industry, and they can give you a lot of good insight in the strategy that might work best for you. like you were saying, picking between Delta and United, both work. I culturally fit at one place, but my life's probably going to be better at the other. And so that's really important for those of you who obviously are watching right now. Let's talk a little bit about, this is one of the things, because there is such a big hiring in the industry and there is such a big push with, just needing people and also bringing people on. What is it looking like for, previously, let's say 5-10 years ago, if you've had a check ride failure, that's a big deal, right? That's something they always want to, and I'm using that as an example, but let's call it negative information, what we would think of as potentially negative information. What are you seeing in the industry as far as people that may have not got hired 10 years ago if they had one check ride failure or something like that to now, what we're seeing now?
Sure. So we put them under an umbrella called background concerns. It just kind of sounds nice.
Yeah.
But, when we think about that, there's a couple of different categories, right? You have criminal convictions, you have misdemeanors, you have tickets, you have DUIs. On the civilian side, it's enforcements. On the military side, right, you would have mishaps or commander-directed downgrades, aircraft
Right.
accidents,
Yep.
check ride failures, stage check failures. Those are the top issues that we hit.
Okay.
So the first is, I would say, north of 80% of the people that we talk to have one of those things in their background.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, that can be anything from, hey, look, I failed the stage check, all the way through, we had a guy in January this year, crashed 2 jets in 18 months, got him hired at
Wow.
a legacy, right? Okay. So from the very, very simple to the very, very complex. First thing we do, and this isn't typically the case, but we make sure that there's nothing in your background that's going to impact your ability to maintain a medical or a pilot certificate.
Okay.
So when we look at those things, if they haven't heard of what's called the HIMSS program, that's if somebody has a substance abuse issue, drugs or alcohol, right? So that'll pull their medical. If they have a criminal conviction, it could potentially impact their ATP, depending on what type of conviction that is. So before somebody spends a lot of money, before somebody spends a lot of time, we want to make sure that they're not going to spend time and money on something that's not going to lead someplace.
Okay. Absolutely.
Okay. Once we get that squared away, so there's no impact to your medical, there's no impact to your pilot certificate, the next thing we're taking a look at is things like, if people are familiar with Canadian rehabilitation. So basically, if you have a DUI, you got to get a bunch of paperwork done so you can go to Canada, right? The last thing you want to do is get hired and find out you can't go to Canada. Okay. Once that's all squared away, the number one issue that we see with people not getting hired is because they didn't put it on the application.
Wow.
Just leave it off. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because it turns out, right, like, I could think of 4 people in the past 3 months that have gotten hired that we've helped get hired at a legacy that have had some type of criminal conviction that was related to a substance abuse problem.
Okay.
Right? DUI, marijuana. A lot of it's when they were younger, right? But some of it's not as far back as you might think. So you got to get the paperwork on this stuff. You'd be surprised how many times people are like, I wasn't convicted. Okay, well, you pled guilty. Oh, is that a conviction? Yeah, it kind of is, right? So the first thing, we got to get all the paperwork. Make sure we can explain it clearly and accurately. I don't like surprises. And it turns out neither does Delta, American, United, FedEx, Spirit, Frontier. They don't like surprises either. Right? So whatever we put on the application has to be factually accurate. Well, we get that through the paperwork. And we work with people on what records they need to pull and how to pull those records and so on and so forth. Do you know how many times we ask people in depth, do you have any check ride failures, DUIs? No. Okay, fill out the application. Delta gives them the interview invite, or United gives them an interview invite, or American gives them. Well, guess what happens in that email? They give you a list of paperwork they need you to bring. Yeah. And in that list of paperwork says, hey, we need you to tab these certain things. People go, oh, man, I was looking through my performance reviews, and it turns out, yeah, there was that time where they had that no-show check ride, and I just forgot about that. Oops. What do I do? Well, I take everyone at face value, right?
Right.
You gain nothing by lying to me.
Right.
So I'm not gonna look down on somebody for a check. The difference between somebody who's had a check ride failure and not just whether or not it was your lucky day or not, right?
Right.
All of us have a day where if we took a check ride, let's be honest. I mean,
Right.
you
Absolutely.
know, show me on EPs on the King Air right now. It's 50-50 on how, depending on which
True.
ones you ask me on how good that's going to go. So, we pull the paperwork and then we write the explanation. The last thing you want to do is find the paperwork when they ask you for it. I just had someone on Friday call me up and went, "Oh my God, there are 2 check ride failures. I left off my application."
Oh man.
Had a United interview on Monday and a Delta interview on Wednesday. I spent my entire weekend with that person
Wow.
going through the strategy on how to put it on the application. What do you say, so on and so forth, right? In the Delta interview, they said in the first 30 seconds, I knew it was over.
Wow.
Was it? It didn't, and it just went downhill from there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what it's like to see 4 people were walked out that day? Do you know what it's like to see a grown man cry?
Yes, but not for the same reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Because that's what it is, right?
Right.
So the number one thing is we need to get it on there. Now, here's the confusing part. Certain applications say, "Have you ever had this?"
Okay.
Certain applications say only in the past 5 years, only in the past 10 years. It gets confusing. People
Yeah.
make mistakes. That's why when we do these reviews with people, we spend an hour to 2 hours going through your application. Then we spend another hour or 2 on a video chat with you.
Yeah.
Then we have a second person go through it again. This is the stuff that we're looking for. If you can put that stuff on your application, right, and it's on there and it's accurate, your chances of getting hired are substantial. I mean, if you go in and you pee on yourself that day or you don't explain it well,
Sure.
right, it's not going to go well, but we work with you on that.
Yeah.
But the reality is when you put that check ride failure on that application, or you put that termination or that forced resignation or that command directed downgrade or that mishap or the DUI, whatever, guess what? When they offer the interview, they knew that before you walked in the door, which means they're okay with it.
Right. Right.
They're
Exactly.
okay with it. You walk in the door with a DUI or a check ride failure or whatever, and it's your job to lose,
That's right.
right? You don't put it on the application until after they offer the interview, and you're trying to run up Everest without having done any pre-workout conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point that, I guess I really didn't think about that until just now that, if it's already on your resume and they've given you that application, they've seen it.
Yeah.
They know
They
what
know.
to expect. They want to hear what you have to
Yeah.
say about it. So I remember,
What'd you learn from it?
I remember it's been, I don't even know if you remember, but it's been almost 4 years since you and I worked. Like we worked, did all my stuff through Raven, and I thought, man, my stuff looks good. And then when you guys went through, I was like, oh man, my stuff looks terrible. And it was, definitely worth it. There was no, and I had nothing. I mean, that was 4 years ago. We really were still just starting RTAG and stuff. And so I had no idea what to expect, but after working with Raven and working with you guys, getting my resume, I went in the interview. It was no surprises. Like I felt really comfortable and ready to go. And that was something that was very beneficial. But that's something that's important. I keep looking. I apologize if it looks like I'm not paying attention, but I'm getting questions from literally phones and stuff here. But what are we going to do? Are we going to look? Let's talk a little bit about the convention. Are we looking forward to maybe another networking talk from you, or is that what you're looking for this year? Are you gonna what do you think?
Yeah, because dude, when you get face-to-face time with somebody, come on, that's your opportunity to close.
That's right.
Like, go blow it. I mean, you get an opportunity to get face-to-face with a recruiter, right? And you get your 5 minutes. That's just the establishing trust and rapport.
Right.
When you bump into them, right? Remember, these people are humans. They have to go to the bathroom. They got to eat at the food cart. They're going to stay at a hotel. They got the parties they're going to, right? You've got lots of opportunities at these at these conventions for the folks that go to RTAG year after year after year,
Yeah.
where you can really establish trust and rapport with these recruiters and build a relationship. The networking is hands down the most valuable thing you'll ever do. And it's not complicated. Like, look, I know people see me up here talking, so they assume I'm an extrovert. I'm not.
Right.
I'm really not. I'm the dude. If anybody was at the Frontier party last year, so Frontier did their party, nice hotel. I mean, they had drinks and appetizers and everything. Eileen and I walked into the party, and there was like kind of an indoor section and then like an outdoor pool area. We went to the outdoor pool area. There was nobody out there, and we just sat down. I mean, that's what we did, right? Now, people were nice enough to come over and talk to us,
Right.
but that's not my atmosphere, right?
Right.
I'm not. You put me in a group of a lot of people, it's uncomfortable. How do you start a conversation? How do you not be transactional? How do we call them hooks, right? How do you get someone hooked and interested in actually talking about a topic? And most of it's not talking about flying.
Right.
You're
True. Yeah.
throwing topics out that are interesting. We had a guy interview Frontiers a couple weeks ago. It was like a bass fishing competitor or something.
Wow.
Like, I mean, like those are the things where you're like, whoa, hey, somebody actually starts talking about that. So tips and tricks on how do you get a conversation started? How do you not be transactional? How do you not be that awkward, dude in the corner with your drink in your hand like this going, please, nobody talk to me.
Right.
Right. And turn a 5 or a 10-minute conversation into something where you can follow up with them afterwards via LinkedIn, or you have a phone number or an email address, and you can do little interactions over a long period of time that have an impact.
Yeah. No,
it works.
It does work. It really does. And that's, I talked to people several times about, I am an extroverted person. But I talked to a lot of people about how to have conversations with these places that have these jobs, right? How to have a conversation with an American or a United or recruiter without trying to have to sell yourself. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people do. They come to these and go, man, I've got 5 minutes to do an elevator pitch. But really it's your resume and all of the other things that you've done are doing those 5 minutes for you. It's how do I relate to this person on a personal level? Like what makes me different than somebody that 8,000 other people that are trying to get a job flying 737. So those are the things that I try to tell people as well. Is it's the bass fishing thing. That's something that's interesting. Like that's something that gets a conversation started that has nothing to do with aviation. You're like, oh man, this person's really cool and easy to talk to. Oh, by the way, they're fully qualified, and I could sit in the cockpit for 4 hours with this person and talk to them. And those are kind of the important things I think that sometimes we miss out on.
So you just said something that is extraordinarily simple and impactful.
Oh, wow.
It is better to be different than it is to be better.
Oh,
and
like
it's
that.
exactly what you just said. If I walk into a room and I go, not that anybody would ever do this, but I'm a better King Air pilot than you are.
Right.
That's a very hard argument to make.
Right.
It's very hard to stand out on, I'm a better pilot than you are. I have more flight time than you do. Like nobody cares. But when you're Josh Lee, the VP, well, now you got something. And if it rhymes, it's better.
It does
right?
rhyme. It does rhyme.
But it's different. It makes you stick out.
That's right.
Now, all of us have things about us that make us different. And that's honestly, when we're doing interview prep, that's what we're doing, is helping people pick out, these are what your differentiators are. This is what your underlying motivators, what makes you tick. Here's how to bring those up in natural ways. But what you said, it's simple in concept and difficult in execution until you know how to do it. But you are better off being different than you are being better.
Yeah, I love that.
If you want to compete on your flight time or whatever, knock yourself out. But it's much easier to compete on being different.
Yeah, somebody even put here, sounds like it's your personality that really matters here. And Craig, it is. It really is your personality. I know getting to know all these recruiters personally, they really do. They really want to sit down. I mean, almost all of the recruiters that are in uniform, especially at these events, they want to know, can I sit next to this person and not want to jump out of the plane for 4 hours? That's the kind of thing. Because all of the other stats, if they're going to call you for an interview, are already there. They know you can fly a plane. And if you can't, training's going to weed you out. Their job's not to train you. Their job's to see if your culture and personality meet. And so, yeah, Craig, that's absolutely 100% the most important thing. And really the authenticity. The reason I think that volunteer status on resumes is such a big deal, right? They want to see who you are as a whole person. They want to see, is this person just blowing smoke, or do they really have that authentic, like, do they give back to the community? Do they want to provide, opportunities for other people to succeed? Those kinds of things. And your volunteer I think that shows a whole person of who you are and what you do when you're not working. And yeah, so what are your thoughts on that, James?
So you're spot on. The way I try and I'm going to say something's going to sound really weird, but these conventions are a lot easier if you empathize with the recruiter.
Sure.
So I want you to imagine going on the worst round of speed dating you ever possibly could, right? Where you interact with the most awkward, uncomfortable person you can, who is reading you a list of facts off of a sheet of paper. How many times are you going to do that in 5-minute increments?
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
For 12 hours,
Oh,
right? How many times are you going to do that before you go, hey, I'll tell you what, everything on the sheet of paper I already know, put it down. Tell me something I don't know. Tell me something that's not on that sheet of paper.
Yep.
Your ability to be a human, your ability to be authentic, right? Your ability to read their body language and see what they're interested in makes a huge, substantial difference. Things you just talked about in terms of volunteer work. We all have gifts. Being a pilot's a pretty freaking cool job, man.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets to do that, right? So what are you doing with those gifts to show appreciation, to say thank you, to help others, right? These are things that help you stand out. These are differentiators. It doesn't have to be literally going and petting puppies on the weekend. You don't have to do it on a union committee.
Right.
Dude, you could coach your kids' t-ball league. That's fine, right? But we're all doing things outside of the cockpit. Can't say everyone, but most everyone's doing things outside the cockpit to get back. You need to be thinking about those things.
Yeah.
When we go into these interactions, conferences, interviews, you don't memorize content. You don't memorize, here's specifically what I'm going to say. You memorize formats.
Right.
So, for example, if someone asks me tell me about a time story, situation, task, action, result. There's a format on how you can put that together. You then have a bunch of stories ready that you've pre-thought through. So guess what? When they ask you a question that you weren't thinking about or you hadn't prepared for, you can, boom, grab that story out of thin air, put it into that format right on the spot. It looks like you didn't prep.
Right.
Now, there's formats for introducing yourself. There's formats for general style HR questions. There's formats for, hey, when you're at a job fair and they ask you why you want to work here. There are structures or formats that you can memorize. So no matter where you run into someone or how you run into them, you can take something and put it together on the fly in a way that is very authentic, tailored specifically to them, and isn't a scripted piece of garbage that they're tired of hearing because they've heard it.
Yeah, you're right. And that was one of the things that I appreciated of it's you just understanding how to tell your story and tell about you in a format that works really well. And you're never having to memorize really anything because it's all your story. It's not like you're having, okay, I memorized this is, X, Y, Z. And that's really exciting and really fun to do. And to go back, Craig, to your question about the personality, again, I'll steal this from one of the people at my company that, they obviously the pilot stuff takes care of itself. They're looking for representatives. When you put that pilot uniform on, that flight attendant uniform on, that maintenance, we don't want to leave all those people out who are doing those other jobs. You're the forward facing part. Nobody sees your CEO unless they're on TV. They see you at the customer service counter. And those are the kinds of things they want to know, that you're going to be competent and fun and customer sensitive and forward facing for the company. And that's the kind of things that they're really looking at. And that's what the instructor or the recruiters are really told to be looking for. So if you're good, James, I think we've got an awesome base here, and I'd like to hit some of these questions that people are asking. If you're ready for a little round robin here.
Let's go.
All righty. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This comes from Eric Sabiston. Says, first off, what's your take on the recession, early retirements, and hiring outlook? We touched a little bit about that, but what do you think we'll see over the next, let's say, 2 years? Do you think it's going to continue to just ramp regardless of what's going on, or?
So it's funny. So we get the recession question a lot, right? And it's an exceptionally good question because I don't know if anybody's been to a gas pump lately, but I think we're all probably feeling it. So if you think about it, the airlines clearly have all the same economic data that we're all watching on TV,
Right.
plus they can see their future bookings and so on and so forth. Despite all that, American still offered a 17% pay increase. United is still offering pay increases. They're now renegotiating those. They've found some new opportunities for growth there. Where they're still hiring at 100, 200 per month,
Right.
right? We don't know. We don't technically know if we're going to hit a recession, right? I think everyone's fairly confident we're going to hit a recession,
Right.
but nobody 100% knows, which means nobody knows how deep or how long it's going to be.
Sure. Sure.
But to be honest, right now, if we hit a recession, that's going to give them the breathing room to catch up, right? Like the idea of slowing down, it's like they saw what happened with the coronavirus with getting
Right.
caught off guard in the recovery. So nobody's really looking right now to nobody wants to be the one that gets caught when the recession ends 6 to 9 months later, and then all of a sudden, hey, you're behind on pilot hiring again.
Right.
They're raising the pay, they're raising the contracts. I don't know if anybody, for those that saw the email that we sent out on Tuesday, Scott Kirby over at United was talking specifically about how they're excited about a recession. They're going to take advantage of the downturn. They're trying to get their training center in order to increase their pipeline of pilots in terms of how quickly they can hire and get through training.
Right.
So right now, there's nothing showing really even a slowdown.
That's awesome.
Now, having said that, there are disruptions in hiring at each of the individual carriers.
Sure.
So, like if you may have seen in the beginning of the summer, for example, United dropped off their hiring by almost probably like 40-50%. That is going to happen normally throughout the year as they run into training center backlogs, IOE backlogs, summer flying, holiday flying, right? You're going to see that happen, but it's going to happen at different carriers at different times. So I wouldn't panic about that, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, people are like all of a sudden, hey, United's slowing down. What's going on? Yeah, you're right. And Delta did that earlier in the year, and then
Yes.
you're watching them constantly do this throughout the year because they're all struggling with simulator availability,
Right.
IOE
I've seen
availability,
that.
so on and so forth. Yeah. The other thing that's insane that's going on right now is you're watching people from American go to Delta, Delta go to United, United go to FedEx, FedEx go to UPS. Like, so there's movement that they've never seen before.
Right.
But as of right now, there's nothing showing a slowdown.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I've got here's a shout out for you. Anthony Bailey says, I always read all the emails. It's always got useful information, relevant. I actually do as well. I think they're really good. How important, Alan Dowling asks, how important is checking the new pilot record database prior to applying? Is that a go-to for recruiters yet?
So that's actually a really good question, Alan. So if anybody doesn't know what the pilot records database is, it's an online database. You can Google it, you can access it. And what's going to happen is now when you do a PREA check, right? Let's say let's say you're at Piedmont, right? And you decide you want to go to Frontier. When you go to Frontier, right, they have to have you sign paperwork that gets sent back to Piedmont that says we want all of Bob's training records. Piedmont has to have somebody go pull all those records, put them together, and send them to Frontier. And then Frontier's got to reach out. I think it's not just Frontier, but every carrier's got to reach out like 2 times every month, I think is what it is. Okay. 2 times before they can drop it. Okay. Well, some of you may have noticed with all the hiring going on right now, PREA paperwork's taking a long time, right? Yeah. Which means you could be on property 4 or 5 months, 3 months before they get that paperwork, right? You're halfway through SIM at that point. The last thing United, Delta, American, Southwest, Frontier, FedEx, UPS wants to do is after they've invested $30,000 of the $60,000 into your training is pull you out because they found something.
Yep.
So the solution for that is the pilot records database, which effectively says every time you complete a training event, they just upload it online immediately right there. So the record sits there constantly that can be pulled at any given time. Now, you as a pilot can authorize Frontier on the spot access to your records. They get them immediately.
Yeah, that's
The
awesome.
other advantage to it, though, how many people know what their PRIA record says right now? You don't. You don't have any access to it, right? Okay. But with the pilot records database, you get to see your records as they upload them as well.
Nice.
So there's a lot more transparency in the system. Now, it's not really fully up and running. It doesn't have all the records in there yet.
Yeah.
So is it worth checking? Yes, but it is not a complete picture. If you reach out to us at info, I-N-F-O, at ravencareers.com, we can send you a separate link where it goes to airman certification directly at the FAA in Oklahoma City, and they will send you every sheet of paper the FAA has on you, and you can start to audit your own records.
And I'll put that up. Give me 1 second. I'll put that up here.
Sure.
Bam.
Thank you.
Right in there. Boom. So if you need it, they can help you out.
It's Careers.
Oh, man.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it.
This is why
we have auditors here, because I spell the same way you do.
Yep. This is why.
Which is why you don't want me writing your resume.
Right. Yeah, exactly. My wife takes care of that usually for me.
Yeah.
She texts me in a second. Yeah. And actually, PJ Edmonds, he just said as well, for those attempting, the database is down for maintenance in the moment. It's one of those things that's going to come up. It's going to get better. But it is, I agree. I think it's a great, I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that it's something that's just now happening. But, it is the FAA sometimes, but not
allowed to comment on that.
I know you're not. Somebody said great information for interview prep, formats, not scripts. That's a big deal. Here's an interesting one. I'm going to pull this. In fact, I'm going to keep this up here so people can see it. And then I'm going to put this one up here. Justin Schofield says, should we, or is there a need to prep going to a small pilot like FlexJet or NetJets? Is that something that should be doing a prep? That's from YouTube.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I'm a former NetJets pilot, and Eileen is a former manager from NetJets. So anybody you're going to interview with at NetJets, we know, including the people that are going to be there at the job fair. FlexJet, know those folks over there as well. I wasn't a FlexJet pilot, though, so it's a little bit different.
Right.
The big deal with both FlexJet and NetJets is cultural fit.
Oh, all right.
It's huge. And there is a massive difference between the airlines and a corporate company like a FlexJet or NetJets.
Right.
And you hit on the point earlier, Josh, about you are the face of the brand. Okay, now at an airline, you have a lot of support with that.
Right.
You have gate agents, you have flight attendants, you have 2 pilots. There's a lot of support at an airline that goes into that.
Right.
And the people that you're talking to are like you, the passengers. Okay. At a NetJets or a FlexJet, you don't have all those people between you and the person sitting in the back. You're the one going to talk to them. And I was talking to a friend the other day who spends a lot of time riding in the back of corporate jets, and he was talking about, being on board with CEOs of Fortune 50 companies. And he goes, the only person on the face of the earth that can tell a Fortune 50 CEO no? The pilot. He goes, it's the only person that goes up to the CEO and goes, yeah, we're not going to do that. And the CEO goes, okay, and sits down.
Right.
So they're screening they're going to put you in front of a Warren Buffett. They're going to put you in front of a Jerry Seinfeld. They're going to put, all those people you see on TV, you're going to be the one telling them, I'm very sorry we can't make it into the airport today because of X, Y, Z. Here's 17 other solutions, right? Okay. So they're checking for social skills. They're checking for emotional intelligence. They're checking for cultural fit. It's not only do you know when and how to say no, it's do you know how to do that respectfully?
Right.
Right? I've let people scream at me because we're sitting in Aspen and we can't depart. And they're watching other airplanes leave. They don't care that they're Gulfstreams that are half empty and we're a Citation that's full. They don't care about that, right? Now, is that the normal experience? It's not. But the one time a decade when that happens, you need to be prepared, or they need to know that you can handle that in a diplomatic way. So you do want to prepare for a FlexJet or a NetJets, and the preparation you do for a FlexJet or NetJets is very different than the prep you would do for a United or a Delta. It's more on cultural fit. It's more on it's a lot of scenario based stuff on like, let me tell you typical scenarios you're going to run into. Let me tell you the problems you're going to run into. And let me talk to you about ways you can solve that. But I mean, they'll screen out 40 to 50% of the people that they interview.
Wow.
The NetJets interview is done about 3 miles on the other side of that wall.
Oh,
I'm in
okay.
Columbus, Ohio. So when you
Nice.
guys come in, if anybody comes in for the NetJets interview, let me know. I'll stop by. I'll say hi. It's like a 3-minute drive between me and headquarters. But yeah, they'll screen out, like 40, 50% of the people just on cultural fit.
Wow.
Great pilots, very experienced,
Mhm.
7,000, 8,000 hours. But, they're
looking for the right
so
people.
yeah, it's just such and such situation happens. What are you gonna do? Oh, we can't do it. Is that what you're gonna say? And how are you gonna say it? Yeah, no, we're not doing it. Oh, okay. Well, we appreciate your attention to safety, but diplomacy wasn't high enough.
That's funny. Yeah, and NetJets and both FlexJet and NetJets are going to be there this year again, and they're phenomenal. Always looking for people. So that's good. I'll wait a couple more minutes to see if there's any more questions that come in.
The big thing with FlexJet or NetJet too, sorry to interrupt,
please, yeah.
is like we had a number of people last year at the RTAG convention that got interviews like NetJets brought them into a back room. They did a screen right there and then brought them in for a formal interview like a week later and gave them a job. So if you're looking at those companies, you need to be going into the convention. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't American offer CJOs last year
I
at
don't know if they offer the CGOs officially there, but I can tell you that it was a direct result, 100%. I just can't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, I don't need to bring you in for a full-up interview. We like you there. So, that's important that if you guys haven't been to an RTAG or anybody, but especially RTAG, we know, I mean, we started getting emails back from not only the recruiters, but from members saying, hey, I didn't even come in. I got the job out as a result of RTAG, didn't even go for an interview. So you need to come ready. Like, don't wait until the event to be ready. Be ready when you walk through the door.
Yeah. It looks like Justin was asking for prepping for a meet and greet pilot social. The meet and greet pilot social is going to be in Orlando. It's the same concept, right? When you go there, they're screening for cultural fit. Couple of things to think about, and I'll just give you the feedback that I get when I'm in town. If they're doing one of their events, I'll usually, for NetJets, that is, I'll stop by. Dude, wear a suit, right? Don't show up in sneakers. Don't show up in jeans and a t-shirt, right? It's $1 million job. Dress like it. So that's number one. Number two, you want to think about things like weight, right? And what I mean by that is you're going to be walking around talking to these people for 6-8 hours. Don't bring all your logbooks in a bag and everything. You're going to have to carry that around all day, right? So bring 5 or 10 resumes, put them on nice resume paper, right? But don't start dragging around logbooks and all this stuff because you're going to have 20 pounds on your back. It's going to hurt. You're going to slump over, so on and so forth. Bring a water bottle with you that's refillable.
Good point. Yeah.
That way, and now if you're like me, I spill stuff on me all the time, so I only put water in the water bottle. There's
That's
no
100% true, James.
Yeah,
I can
it's gotta
attest to
be.
that.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is bring power bars or something like that.
Oh yeah.
There's not always food at these events. So bring something where you can sneak off into a corner and you can eat it that's not messy. Once again, don't get a blueberry something or other, like a blueberry pastry. Like bring a power bar or bring something that's dry that you can eat quick, right? Make sure when you show up at the hotel in the morning, have breakfast, hydrate before you get there, pack light, bring resumes on nice printed paper, bring a water bottle that's refillable so you don't have like bottles of water you're carrying, bring some snacks to carry around, and bring something to write down the name of the person you spoke to.
Yes.
Because you can find them on LinkedIn later and connect to them and go, hey, Josh, it was nice meeting you at the Orlando event. Hope all's well. Look forward to staying in touch. Now you can drive them back to your LinkedIn page where they can read about you. They can see posts you've made. Like, how many times I go to, how was the event? Oh, it's great. I met this really great guy. We talked about it. What was his name? Oh, I don't remember.
Yep.
Man, you did all that good networking stuff, and now you can't continue the conversation with the person. So write down a name.
Absolutely.
Those are the big things for these events. Same thing, and like I said, this holds true for RTAG as well. So
100%. And like we've said before, PJ just put it out there, said, dress for the job you want, not the one you have. come to RTAG. We have spent the last 5 years. This is the 5th anniversary. It's the 5th one we've done. But the last 5 years we've created, not we, but we as RTAG have created a presence and an environment that they are ready to hire you. Before we had this crazy hiring gig, and now they're ready to go. We got some exciting stuff we're going to talk about in the coming months about potentially who will be doing actual interviews and CJOs on site at RTAG, never before. But you bring up great points. How many shirts do you usually bring? Because I remember Eileen and I had this conversation at one point. How many shirts do you bring to one of the conventions? Like 2 or 3, don't you?
I bring 2. Yeah, I'd say 2 or 3 is what I usually. So that's the other thing too. So like if you notice right now, like I'm wearing a blue shirt. So people ask all the time, like, hey, what type of suit? So blue suits or navy blue suits are good. Black suits are good, obviously, but you can also go with the charcoal or something like that. Yeah. You don't just have to wear. That volunteer red polo is worth its weight in gold. If you can wear a volunteer red polo, that is the ultimate uniform to wear. I won't disagree with that one. So if you're like, depending on what your skin complexion is, wear something that's complementary to that. You don't have to just wear a white shirt. You don't have to just wear a red or blue tie, right? But wear something that's professional. The other thing, and you can talk about this more intelligently than I can, some of your best networking at RTAG is done between noon and 4 on Sunday.
100%
last day
correct.
of the convention.
Yep.
Right? I mean, Susan White from United. Wasn't until the last day of the convention at like 12:30. She's walking around the convention floor because everybody's gone. You could have walked up to her and talked to her for an hour if you wanted. There's nobody there.
That's right. That's true. 100%.
Some of your best networking is done at the end of the day, at the end of the convention when everybody's trying to leave because they're trying to catch their non-rev flight home.
Yeah, that's you could not be more spot on that. Here's one. We'll close this out with the last question because I think it's great. E2A is the enlisted airline stuff. So generally a lot more junior, if you will, in the flight hours aspect. Sure. So what are the tips for the low time folks coming in? And I know low time is relative, Eric, because low time a few years ago is definitely not what low time is now. But what's some advice for them to kind of put themselves over the top, maybe if you're looking for that next job?
Sure. So on that note you just said, I'm just going to use NetJets as an example. Yeah. 2 years ago, NetJets, you needed 2,500 hours total time to get hired. Last year, they dropped it to 1,500 hours, and 2 weeks ago, they dropped it to 1,250.
Wow.
Right? Okay. When you're taking a look at Delta, United, and American, you're talking about roughly 1,000 hours of fixed wing turbine time. Doesn't matter if it's PIC or SIC.
Right.
Right? So your point about, hey, low time is relative is exactly spot on. So the first thing that I do is if I have 800 hours, I'm in shooting range. I'm starting to ask questions about, hey, what is competitive minimums? Do you see that changing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you could be out when you're getting towards that cusp, right? You could be currently outside of minimums, but before you realize it, be inside those minimums. So that's number one. Number two, when you're talking to a company you want to go to, whether it's a regional airline, whether it's a legacy airline, whether it's an ultra low cost, I typically ask the recruiters, when you see the people you're hiring, where are they coming from?
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that a lot.
Because at 800 hours, I've got enough time to correct that if I don't have the experience they're looking for, I can still make an adjustment.
Right.
Oh, you want a little more multi-time or you want a little more of this? Hey, we really like flight instructors that do this type of instruction, whatever, right? Okay. We like flight instructors that have a lot of instrument students. I'm just using that as an example. Sure. But I asked them, hey, look, when you're hiring people, where are they coming from? Because I just want to copy. It's not rocket science. Just copy them, right? Okay. The next thing is, what are the big things people are doing in interviews that are getting them bounced out? And the recruiter will tell you, we're tired of hearing these stories. People are showing up with their logbook messed up like this, or they're not bringing that paperwork, right? At that point, right, what are the competitive minimums? Are they going to change? Number two, where are people coming from, so you can see if there's any gaps in your experience and fix those. And number three, when they finally do get the opportunity, how are they losing it? Now, the other thing is if a company has an online application, it doesn't matter if you're qualified or not.
Right.
Fill it out.
Right.
Fill it out. They want the information a year out from when you're qualified so they can see you getting closer. Remember, they know the timeline between when they offer you an interview and they have you in class. they can lead the turn if they see you in their system updating monthly.
Yep. 100%.
You pop up in the system randomly out of nowhere, right? It's tough. And lastly, on that note, and I apologize, I'm going on too long.
Oh, no.
Do you know how many people at last year's RTAG conference came by the booth and went, dude, I just talked to XYZ Airline, and it went really well with the recruiter. He asked me, do I have my application on file? I said no. So I have to go to the hotel right now and fill it out. Fill it out before you get there.
That's right.
And here's where that happens, right? People don't know if they're going to be interested in the airline or not
Right.
until they get there. If you think there's even a remote chance, fill it out. At least get the basic stuff in there. Because the recruiter, without that application, the recruiter doesn't have anything to go back to.
Right. Oh, I agree. And I will say this, we've had a lot of requests this year for Wi-Fi access. And we know, and they've already told us, hey, what kind of Wi-Fi? Because we're trying to get speed, and we're also doing, market research. But it's like, why do you need it? So we know what kinds of speeds we can get. And they're going to say right there, we want to do on-site application review. So if you're saying, oh yeah, I've got my application, let's see Piedmont as an example. Yep, got my application on file. Oh man, I know one of the recruiters there. He can pull up and say, oh yeah, I really like your application. Why don't we go to this little room that we've already set up with RTAG, because there's a lot of people that have asked for interview space, a lot of airlines. They take you right back over and start talking to you. Oh yeah, this looks great. This looks great. And all of a sudden you're walking out with 1, 2, 3, 4 CJOs. So it's those things that it is like, I want to say it's kind of like going to Walmart and shopping. I mean, there is so much opportunity there, and they're really wanting you there, which is why they're at RTAG, and they know you're already bringing so much to the table. Whether you were enlisted low time, Eric, or weren't a pilot in the military, they know what the military brings to the table. And so when you're close, and I will say this, we just announced a few weeks ago about the Mesa deal. Those airlines, the regional airlines, are looking at you well before you hit that time, like James was saying, but they also have programs specifically designed to either help you finish up your time, maybe with money, or give you cadet programs. Almost all the regionals have something that's going, like I said, the Mesa one, you may not be ready, but you're at 800 hours and you can close that gap in 6-7 months. Go talk to those people and see what they have to offer. Talk to a Mesa, see what they have to offer. And that might be the perfect place to help give you some money to finish up what you're doing, give you a decent job for the next couple years to get you to that next step where you want to go.
You're not committing to anything by talking to them.
Exactly.
Go talk. You're going to learn something.
Yep. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I know most people be afraid to ask that. What are people not getting jobs doing in interviews? And I think they'll tell you that to the extent of what, they know. Super exciting.
Go ahead. They don't want to sit there and listen to horrible stories. You're taking mercy on their soul by asking that question.
Yep,
you're doing them a favor. I mean,
I love it. Well, James, as always, man, it's awesome. Info at Raven Careers is on the sheet, or I'm sorry, on the screen right there. You can also go up to Raven Careers, their website, and find everything you need to know about Raven Career Development. Again, thank you for all the support you've given us and all of the passion you've put out in our community. More exciting stuff between our two organizations coming soon. And so we're excited to talk about that. We'll have you back on. But James, I really appreciate everything you've done. I don't see any other questions coming in. Thanks so much, man. We really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you in October.
Excited to be out there in October. Thank you very much for having us this evening. If anybody has any further questions when they go to ravencareers.com, they can put time directly on my or Eileen's calendar. It's free. It doesn't cost them a dime. We'll talk them through whatever they need. Awesome. Thank you so much, James. And we look forward to seeing you soon, brother. Talk soon. Thanks, everybody. Well, there you have it, James. Thank you so much. We are so excited to always have them on. They are just such a great group of folks. I have personally used them, and it was an amazing experience, and we can't thank you enough. We do want to say I'm starting to see, I'm getting a lot of messages through here, and obviously we know some of the bandwidth issues are coming through, and it's getting paused. So we're going to upload this. I'm doing a simultaneous recording, so we're going to upload this as well to the YouTube channel. We'll hit links on the Facebook page to make sure that you can watch this video in its entirety. And more importantly, share it out, because there's a lot of people I don't think that I got to see it live, or maybe some of the pauses or just made them get off. I apologize for that greatly. We're still working on a few of those things, but we're going to post this, like I said, live we're going to post this on the YouTube channel this evening, and we'll start sharing that around so that you can see this. Share this out. Please help people get this information
information. Art Wally says, I used Raven before my airline interview, could not be more satisfied with their help. I would agree with you. Great info. We're hearing from a lot of people, and it's just been great. And again, they've given so much time to us. So apologize for some of the issues with the live show, but once we get it up on YouTube, we'll share this across to the Facebook pages. We'll put maybe some links onto the website. Actually, you can get to the website, get to the YouTube channel from the website. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you go on and subscribe. Again, more conversations coming, a lot more stuff that's going to be a little bit long form. We're getting ready to go to some of the bigger airlines, and we're actually going to go sit down with some of their recruiters and look at some of the training centers and a lot of that fun stuff that's going to be coming out. We have awesome stuff coming to the convention. We're working with some vendors right now to bring hopefully some stuff that you can buy at a discount there. That will really help make your transition a little easier in getting to those airlines. So please share this video out once we get the good full link. Thank you for joining us today. If you weren't here for the earlier part, I know somebody said they dropped in late. If you weren't here, we did add 200 more spaces for the RTAG 80s Party and Scholarship Awards Gala. That is going to be an event you do not want to miss. It is free, 100% free. We're going to have some Texas barbecue. We're going to have a live 80s band. Gotta come in costume, 80s costume. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be starting at 6 o'clock at night on Saturday, the 22nd, I believe. Somebody double check me, make sure I don't have a calendar in front of me, but the 22nd for that event. It's going to be incredible. Those tickets are going to go live August 4th, and we'll put some reminders out on all the social media and possibly on the page as well. Those tickets will go live August 4th. You do not want to miss it. They're going to go live at noon Eastern, August 4th, but this is it. Once those 200 are gone, I've got nothing left. That is, we are at max capacity for that event, but make sure that you are registering for the event. Again, share this information with people, share these videos out. If you're looking for more information, or if you think that there's stuff that you want to see us talk about. Is this record? Joel, yes, it is recorded. I'm going to put up the recording on YouTube so you can go back and watch it. So make sure you go subscribe at YouTube/RTAG Nation. You can also get to it through the website, but this full thing will be uploaded so you can get just a better version. Sorry about the delays and issues, but again, share it with people that are looking for the information, invaluable information. I mean, hundreds and thousands of dollars, not kidding. The kind of information James just gave us, and make sure that you go over to info@Raven Careers. So you can check them out and use them as much as you can. Let me think if there's anything else. Yeah, new swag, new shirts coming out. The volunteers I know are full, but definitely send your name over to PJ Edmonds. Send your name over to him, and he can get you on the standby list for volunteering. We look forward to having everybody out. It is going to be incredible. If you haven't signed, you want a wife or husband or significant other to come. If you haven't signed them up, you don't necessarily need to sign them up. Just you can bring them on the tickets or on the ticket that you already have. We get that question quite often. If you have civilian friends that want to come, we are absolutely bringing civilians on, and it's only a $50 donation that goes directly out to scholarships. If you missed it earlier, scholarships are live. Get your applications in and your written stuff in for those scholarships. There are some requirements for those, but we talked to the scholarship winners a few weeks ago. You can go onto the YouTube channel and see that show about where they're at now. We've had people get the scholarships, finish up their training, and now they've went from within a couple years straight into flying 737s at IARO. I believe both of them are there. So thanks so much, Scott Graham. August 4th, 12 p.m. Eastern. I put your comment up there. Absolutely. August 4th, 12 p.m. Eastern is when the tickets for the 80s will go live. I will set it right there. You'll be able to find those at the same page you signed up for. So those will be a standalone ticket on the attendee portal. So if you go into the events on RTAG Nation, click attendee portal, you'll be able to purchase just that without having to re-sign up for another registration. 3,500 almost. We're closing on 3,500 registrations for the convention. It is going to be an amazing time in Fort Worth. We could not be more excited about what's coming. We thank you so much, as we say millions of times. Here's PJ. He says accepting volunteers, and we've got some folks who are not able to make it. We've got some backups. Our magazine's going to be incredible this year. We're doing a bunch of RTAG focus pieces in the magazine about where people started, where they're at now. We've got, if you haven't seen the list here, I'll throw it back up here. That right there is just a small list. I got a more list coming up in the next several shows. Our next show is going to be in 2 weeks, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we're sitting down with Keith Roxo. And he is going to help you with medical information, medical questions. It's going to be awesome. More, obviously, thank yous to Raven for the show. So, tickets going live August 4th, noon Eastern, for the 80s party. Make sure you're gathering your costumes for those. Raven Careers information at info@ravencareers with an A, CAREERS. And make sure that if you want to do prep or want to talk to them, just shoot them a message. Get on their calendar real quick. Ask them a few questions. They've given so much to our community. On behalf of myself, the rest of the board of directors, thank you for what you all do. We are seeing a huge spike, not only in attendance, but the mentorship that's going on the social media. We're seeing a huge spike from the recruiters and from all of these new airlines that we're going to be announcing actually more and more. We're closing in on 100 vendors, mostly airlines and helicopter operational companies, that they want to be here because not only are they need pilots, they need maintainers, they need flight attendants, they need dispatch people, but they know that we as a community bring veterans to the table that are ready to take that next step and ready to take that next job. And you all sell yourself just by the service of the country. So I want to thank you personally. Thank you for making this what it is. Eric and Tim and Jim, continue to serve you. And we cannot wait to see you all in person and shake your hands as you come through the door of RTAG 2022. And that will do it for us. This has been RTAG Nation, and we'll talk to you later.